5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you guys for joining us for our 7-Eleven committee. Today is January 14th, 2021. And we are here to discuss the disposition of the district property, better known as the Marshall Elementary School site. So based on our last meeting together, we've since had two community meetings that we outreach to the local community of the Kennedy attendance area to inform them of what we're doing and also to provide a platform for them to discuss their concerns. Jeff, you have a question?
So Kelly, just for protocol, I believe we need to approve the previous minutes and then
I was just going to get to that. Okay. So that's right. I forgot I sent out the agenda. My bad, guys. I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I am so sorry, guys.
I'll be happy to second.
All right. So the meeting minutes have been reviewed and approved, and the previous meeting minutes.
So all in favor of approving the minutes from the last minute?
Can you guys just show with a show of hands that you guys approved them? So it was a unanimous vote.
And I'll make a motion.
And you know what, Jeff, thank you for reminding me. Let me do a roll call. So Jeff Downing is here. Sharon Coco. Kathy Lang Newman. Diego, okay, and myself from representing the facilities department at FUSD. Absent, Summer, is Therese Gaines, Liz Fisher, and Noli De Lasario. Okay, and then we invited Marcus Battle, but I don't know if he actually accepted the invitation. He is associate superintendent. He was invited, but we don't see him. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to get myself together here. I had all these things set up and I forgot to use them. So we've moved through number 1 and number 2. Number 3 is we want to discuss the community meetings that have been completed. So we had a meeting on December 15th, and we had a second meeting on January 7th. We had one person in attendance on the December 15th meeting, and we had 6 people attend on the January 7th meeting. Hi, Marcus. Thanks for joining us. I actually will give you guys an opportunity to kind of discuss what your experience was for those that attended and what you guys gathered from that meeting. So if you're willing to talk, Jeff or Sharon or Kathy, I know that you all were present.
I'll voice the same thing that I did at the end of the last meeting. And I agree with the community people who said it's really hard to make recommendations for use when they don't know why it can't be used or why the school board. So that I think there's a transparency issue that somehow we need to get around. And anyway, particularly if we're considering a third community meeting.
Well, and part of why we within the district felt that it was necessary. We have gotten additional feedback from other community members through email that they want to have an opportunity to provide more input. And that's part of the reason why we're going to do that. And I know that we in our meeting had discussed, if we felt that there wasn't enough exposure, that we would go ahead and do a third one. So I think that we have a little more time now, as well as we have a little more time to provide outreach and distribute the information within that immediate community. So some of the suggestions that were provided actually at our facilities advisory committee last night were to put a banner on the fence at the school site, or to post flyers at the various elementary schools in the area. Or we did provide a write-up for the principals to send out in their email blast, but I don't know how many actually did that. So we're going to work with Brian Kilgore a little bit more this time to make sure that some of the suggestions that were provided to us were actually implemented. Sharon, do you have any comments from your experience?
No, I think that the suggestion for a flyer, for a banner on the fence at Marshall, since it's adjacent to the public park, people walk, especially now, to get out and get some fresh air. So the visibility of that would hopefully notify people and make them aware that they'll have this opportunity coming up. And we do have enough time to post it, advertise it properly so that folks feel that they've had sufficient notice. That was the biggest concern. People said they did not know. So
Okay.
I did reach out to the president of the FUDTA bargaining unit today and offered 2 dates that we were looking at to hold the third meeting. And the only dates that are available because of the impacted district calendar and the meetings that are already underway for the rest of this month are Thursday, January 28th and Thursday, February 4th. And she granted us permission to hold it on February 4th at 7:30. That is a FUDTA meeting day, but they will probably be done by then. So
Okay.
she was fine with that. So I will respond to her once this committee, decides that it's okay with that date. It gives us 3 weeks to advertise, which I think is sufficient.
Okay.
So
Just as a point of discussion, can you guys give me a show of hands that if that February 4th date is acceptable to everyone? Just do a hands up if it is. So Felix, Sharon, Kathleen, Therese, is that fine with you?
It's
I prefer not, because I have another meeting, but
Okay. Okay.
if I
All right.
have to, I'll change it. But
Okay. Jeff?
selfishly speaking, the January date is better for me. I'm already committed to a couple evening events the week of that first week in February, and this
Okay.
is going to make it really tight.
however, we can't post it for that day because FUDTA, that's a sacred date for the bargaining unit. So we were
Right.
infringing on their day, and she gave permission for the 4th of February, but not the 28th of January.
the 28th is one of their meeting dates.
Every Thursday. We cannot, typically, staff, the district is not supposed to hold any meetings that will conflict with the bargaining units, but most specifically the teachers unit, because they have different types of meetings for their rep council, for their board, for their members on Thursdays. So, and unfortunately, there's no other day of the week in the next 3 or 4 weeks because of the Measure E meetings that will be conducted starting the 25th, the 27th. There's another meeting on the 26th that's posted on the district website. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and note that 3 out of the 5 of you all voted for yes for the February 4th date. So our preference is, of course, to get that on the calendar and done as quickly as possible without infringing too much into February. Since we wanted to try and make our February 10th board date to, no, we won't make that. Oh, that's right, because the agenda stuff is already due. So, but we do want to make the 2nd February date for us to present our recommendation to the boards, is not to also impact the HR calendar and the other budgetary stuff that has to be done during that same time frame. Excuse me.
So which,
Can you guys identify who the phone number is that ends in 94 that just joined?
That would be me, Kelly.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't get in from the link for whatever reason.
Okay, thank you for joining us by phone. All right, so the only person we're missing now is Noli. Okay.
so
Yes.
what's the date you're planning to go to the board?
I believe, is it the 24th? February 24th is the date that we have a placeholder on the agenda. So, but our committee needs to finish our draft and have it submitted for agenda review no later than February 12th. If I'm looking at that calendar correctly.
We have
So if we have,
on for
yeah.
11th that you had proposed.
Yes, so our next meeting would be the February 11th date for the 7-Eleven committee. So I'll go ahead and get that confirmed, and we'll, bye Marcus, thanks for stepping in, and we'll work on our draft between now and then to get that sort of kind of sent out. So Jeff, I didn't have a chance to have you speak about your discussion about the community meetings that you attended.
Right, and I saw Felix had his hand up. I don't know if he had something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please go first, Jeff. I think you were first.
So one of the things, and I can't recall when we talked about the limitations of what we could use the property for. I can't recall this discussion, and I found it interesting in our last meeting that 2 of the guests that were there were FUSD employees talking on behalf of facilities. Are we, and we haven't, I don't think we've discussed that, are we at a limitation of not being able to use it for any other FUSD need? I know we can't use it for classroom space, but
I don't think we have any limitations as far as the use of what we're using it for now. It's like right now we just have it as a storage area, you know, but Karina, maybe you can speak to that. I don't know, would we be limited to using it for a non-instructional FUSD facility?
So I think now's a good time. Can everyone hear me?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. I think now's a good time. Maybe we can go over, Kelly, I think you and I talked about uses of the property and the task for this committee and also what the purpose of the community hearings. And I think to the extent the board had made certain statements to the public about what it would or would not like the property to be used for, I want this committee to know that the task still for you all is to, even though you have that in your minds, to still provide recommendations, whether, and it may even be, let's not dispose of it, which it could even be that, but as a subcommittee of the district to have that knowledge, but also do your own evaluation for the site and taking in community input. And whether that, and I understand the last time the community's input was, how can we provide you with input and options on usage when it seems like the board had made these certain decisions. But the purpose of the community meetings is to hear their concerns and to receive their input on what they would like to see there. So whether the board had said something in the past, it's, you know, maybe the community still wants a school there. And if that's their comment, that's what you take in as the committee and apply it to your recommendation. So Jeff, that's a good question, you know, with respect to the M&O folks who showed up, and that's fantastic that they're also involved. But again, that's just more information for this committee to take in and evaluate and apply towards what your recommendation may be for the board. Because although the board may have certain information that they may not want to use the site for a certain purpose, if they see the committee's recommendation, they can do as they wish with it. You know, if the community wants to use it for a school, maybe they want it to be for a park, whatever the purpose they want to see for their own community, because it is their community, that's what you take in. And so maybe that's also something that we need to clarify at the next community meeting, is for this group to let them know, although these decisions or determinations have been made, that this committee will be taking in input and, you know, with an open mind and making sure you apply it with respect to your recommendations. So I don't know if that was helpful at all, but.
It is. I think, and this would be a question for Kelly. The thing that just has kind of been floating around in my head is, have we queried other departments in the district about a potential use for that site? Like if they, because we had the one department come out and say, hey, we're using this for storage because we don't have any space.
I actually have not queried the other departments. And so we've actually opened up the same process for them to also provide their input and their feedback. So those two guys that showed up were actually taking advantage of the notice that the director sent out to all the departments to say, hey, if you're a member of the community, please provide your, you know, participate and provide feedback. But as a, internally as a director to other departments, no, I haven't offered up to say, hey, you know, can your department use this building, or can you, or, you know, we haven't done that, no. But from the perspective of a community and those folks living in the community, we did send out, you know, information and ask them to participate in the community activity of deciding what to do with this property.
Liz, I see your hand was up next.
Oh, I'm sorry, Liz, go ahead. We can't hear you.
Did you say Liz or Felix?
No, I said Liz. I'm sorry. I forgot. Felix, actually, you did have your hand up too. But I'll let Liz go, and then we can talk to you too.
Okay. I was able to watch the recording of the second community meeting. And Miss Hamilton, I believe, you know, commented about the baseball courts.
Yes.
And, you know, we've certainly discussed in terms of site disposition, maybe the city of Fremont might be interested in it as a community center. And if we were to incorporate her feedback, I would think going, saying giving preference to the city of Fremont first and foremost, which I believe is what is required of us even by statute, you know, might be able to accommodate that input that we got.
Okay. Thank you. Felix, you had a question or a statement?
I was just going to say that I don't have the experience of community interaction that all of you have. But the way I participated in both meetings, and as far as I can tell, we have an ethical obligation to the community around and also to the district to create some kind of a match to make sure the future use is amenable. And the thing that I noticed is that with the exception of Ms. Hamilton, there really weren't any neighborhood representatives. There was no HOA president. There was nobody that made a comment. And I think at a time of coronavirus, that was somewhat unusual because certainly everybody would have had an opportunity to see the notification and also to be in town and not traveling or something like that. So the way that I interpret these two meetings is that there really isn't all that much community opposition, perhaps with the exception of the baseball field. And I'll subtract out now the comments from the FUSD employees, because to me that's an internal matter. I can't really judge that, But in terms of the people that live around it, nobody's come up to say that it should be returned to a previous use, that there is any kind of a historical obligation to do something right. So it seems to me that the school district, I think that further outreach is a good idea. But aside from that, until now, I think the school district should be pretty much free to do what is best in your best interest, considering that it doesn't offend anybody in the future. But I didn't hear a lot of objections, is what I'm saying.
That's a very good input, and thank you. Yes, Kathy, and then Sharon.
Okay, I think Felix raises some really good points, but consider the timing of those two community things and when notification went out. It went out during the holiday season, when people frankly were thinking of other things. And so and one of them, I think, was a very short notice in an attempt to get the first community meeting in. And so I think Felix's points are very valid, but I think there's also the other thing is, did we really sufficiently give people notice at a time when they would be paying attention to that sort of thing?
Well, and as I said, that's why we're doing the third one, because we want to make sure that we've done our due diligence and did the outreach and communicated with the community that, we're soliciting their input and advice about this particular property. So I think if we do all that we can do for this next meeting and they still don't show up, then quite frankly, we've done everything that we can do. And it's really kind of on the community now to step up and participate. I don't know, Jeff, if we have the HOA's contact information. I wasn't aware that there was a homeowners association. So if one of you all have access and opportunity to get that and pass that on to us, that would be great. And we can send out something to them as well. Yes, Felix.
Kelly, I'm not sure that's necessary, because usually the way that works is that there are dozens, if not hundreds, of homeowners that receive these notices, and anybody who has an interest in fighting would first go to the HOA. So that shouldn't really be your responsibility. I think that out of the dozens of people that got these notices, they would be contacting the president of that HOA to go with them to the meeting. We can try to send it to them, but that's normally
I absolutely agree, Felix, but I think for the sake of us being fair and transparent, I think it's important for us to make every attempt that we can, so that in the event someone does come back after the fact when this process is done, well, the district didn't do X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, no, actually they did. And, there wasn't a response. And so it eliminates the opportunity for people to continue to say that we're not trying to make an effort to be transparent and forthcoming with the information that we're providing to them. So I wholeheartedly agree, and I totally get your point, but I would rather be too much outreach than not enough. So, and I'm just going to take one more note, guys. And there was one. Was there one more hand after Felix? Dan, I'm not Dan. Jeff, did you have any additional comments or questions?
I think it was Sharon.
Okay. Was it Sharon?
Sharon.
Yes, Sharon. Okay.
Okay, the only thing that for folks who aren't as familiar with Board of Education meetings, this is or could end up being a very emotional topic for people. And I think doing everything that we can do, every media outlet, every way that we can communicate to the community will alleviate folks showing up to the board meeting when we present our recommendation and causing chaos, you know, and saying we did not do our due diligence. And the board will have to respond to that. And so when we take our report, we want everything to be in order. We want to make sure that we have done our due diligence in terms of listening to the people that have come to the 2 previous meetings and expressed what they believe needs to happen in order for people to be notified properly, that we have take that to heart. We did it. It will make the process much easier. Otherwise, we may end up having to go back to the drawing board. The board could send us back there. So.
On this particular item, are there any other comments or questions on item 3? Okay. We've actually already gone over, if we refer back to our agenda, we've already reviewed 4, and it's been voted on that February 4th will be the next meeting based on the acceptance of the FUTA. Also, if we move on to number 5, Sharon has been so gracious and wonderful to create the draft of the report, and I loaded it into the Marshall Site Drive folders. And if I'm going to go ahead and pull it up for us to take a look at, so that we can all see it. And so one of the things that I had talked to the associate soup and the superintendent about previously, they had reminded me that this template that we are going to be working on, we really need to have you all as the committee actually work on this document. And I am not really able to kind of participate in this process with you all, because it would be kind of like a conflict of interest for me to actually do that. So this is the document. Can everyone see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the document that Sharon has put together. And this is in draft form. So here's our first page. I'm going to go ahead and hide this and see if I can make this bigger. Where is it? There it is. Oops. Oh, I don't want to do that. So let's stop doing that. Okay. So here is the draft. So we have our executive summary, the purpose of the committee, the charge of the committee, and the committee membership, and the meeting information. We're going to identify where our, meetings were held and where, and, how many people attended, that kind of thing. Here is our identification of how we did our public notification for the input of the meetings, and we can, document how we did that. Here is the 7-Eleven committee report, and, we can draft a statement saying what our, our report outlines are. And then number 8 would be the committee findings, and then the final recommendation. And we can then conclude the document. So it's a pretty self-explanatory and very sort of short and sweet and to the point document. But what I'd like to ask is that you guys can access this document and actually, you know, amongst yourselves, decide to kind of have everybody participate in filling in the answers to the areas that are blank. And then myself, Karina, and Associate Superintendent Battle, we can basically take a cursory review of it, and, you know, things that you can't answer, we can fill in the blanks. And if there's something that's of the legal nature, you know, Karina, of course, will wordsmith it and fill in the blanks as far as that goes. But the document and the body of it itself, we really need for you guys to actually do that and provide the direction and the input in those areas, so that we are fully and totally in compliance, and there's a separation between what FUSD employees would have input on and what you all as the committee have the access and opportunity and task to do for the report. So are there any questions on that? None? Yes, Kathy.
The time frame that you're talking about is going to be rather tight, because we don't have the third community meeting until February 4th. We cannot really draft a document. And I understand where you're going with this, that, you know, we have to participate in this, but there has to be, we need some organization that we've not had just among the non-FUDSD members. Things need to be very clear in terms of a thing of where the document is, when we meet, that sort of thing. I don't think that we can have a community meeting on February 4th and draft a document to be prepared, ready for the school board on the 24th or whenever it is, because frankly, we all have lives too.
Mm-hmm.
That's my feeling.
Sure, go ahead, Liz.
Okay. I would tend to disagree, only because I was just looking at the document in Google Docs, and, you know, I can start helping Sharon in terms of filling in the blanks, you know, do a little search on board docs, find the dates of those meetings, and I can certainly insert some suggestions of, you know, the things and links that I think we might need to put in the document, so people know where we were getting our information from, especially as it regards, say, the demographic reports and the declining enrollment, or the Dutra report, for instance, some of those things that informed our decision. So I think, so long as it's okay that we work on this offline, you know, through a Google Docs document, certainly we have the opportunity to call a meeting, perhaps. I don't know if we need to, but I think some of the discussion that we have would be just germane to what we've already discussed anyway, correct?
I believe so. Sharon, you have your hand raised?
Yes, thank you. Keeping in mind, you have copies of the Sweetwater and the Poway. This was a combination of taking some things from both of those documents. So it's a draft, and I don't know that the language that refers to the ed code, and I mean, I'm sure that that's accurate, but my references for that, I would like someone to check. I don't know if it needs to be Karina or you, Kelly, just to be sure, because one of the districts was looking at multiple sites. and they were looking at multiple sites for different kinds of uses. And one was looking for a recommendation for it to be used for either early childhood or preschool or child development center. So I don't know if those references are perfectly accurate. And I'm not sure how much of the information that people are giving us in our meetings, does it need to be like in a bulleted form of the everything that they have said, or a synthesis of it?
I think it's really up to you guys how you want to format that document. And if the bulleted items is what works for you guys and you feel that that's appropriate, then that's what we do. Or if you want a summary and synthesizing all the comments and then bullet them, that's it's really up to you guys as to what you all feel is the best thing to present the information. And what I wanted to say is that I understand it is an aggressive schedule, but I think because we have the template and there's really not that much stuff that you guys have to like input, because we do already have some input from the community from the first two meetings that I think I put the questions in the document in the folder as well, that you guys have an opportunity to read and potentially answer or provide feedback on. And so it's just really identifying and pinpointing what exactly you guys want to say and putting it down. And it doesn't have to be a 50-page document. It can be 4 pages. It doesn't have to be something long and drawn out. Sharon's done a great job of doing all the legalese kind of stuff of cutting and pasting and putting in our have to information. So now it's really just answering, what was the community input? What is your final determination based on the recommendations that you've received? And is there any additional things or input that you guys want to provide that will support your position on whatever the decision ends up being? And I think that's something that you guys can do over the course of the time that we have left. Because as I said, myself and Marcus Battle and Karina are going to take whatever you guys prepare and we're going to scrub it and we're going to fine tune it and we're going to validate it to make sure it meets all the legislative criteria as well as legal regulations that we have to adhere to before it actually gets presented to the board. And you'll of course get to see whatever the final outcome is, but it's just, we need for you guys just to give us something. And it doesn't have to be perfect and it doesn't have to be beautiful. I mean, that's my job, to take all that stuff and make it presentable and palatable according to the district standards. We just need for you guys to just input the information. So I hear you, Kathy. I totally sympathize with you. And I just think that if you take it in bite sizes and everybody just do what they can, however big or small, I think we'll get to that point where we'll have a document that we can, look at and be proud of and be able to submit it in a timely fashion. And I see Therese raise her hand and someone else raised their hand as well. Oh, Karina. Yes. So Therese first and then Karina.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I agree with you. I understand Kathy's concern, but I think we can keep moving and not have a lot that we have to input at the end after the third community meeting. I think we can keep going on filling in the blanks, and Liz has volunteered to do some of that. I think we all need to take a look at the draft and provide input. That the issue is Sharon going to volunteer to be the final collector and editor of that, or how are we going to?
I can be. That's fine. I don't have a problem doing that.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, Miss Karina.
I just wanted to clarify that and it just may have been a misuse, but I didn't want the committee to think that we will be scrubbing your work product. I still would like this to be the committee's work product. So of course, to the extent there's any information there which may expose the district to some unnecessary, liability, that's what we will take out. But however the format, whatever information, whatever, misinformation, I just wanted to make sure that the community knows it's your work product. And I think, Kelly, we probably shouldn't mess with that part. So.
Oh, and that's not what I was talking about. I was really just talking
That's what I
about the standard Fremont unified,
Sure.
format for proposals that are submitted to the board.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, sure. Okay, great.
Not
Perfect.
adjusting any content or anything like that, but just
Okay.
formatting, letterhead, footers, all the stuff we have to do whenever we do formal presentations to the board. That's what I was referencing.
No, sure. That's perfect. And I think that's a good clarification. And then, I just wanted to, sorry, Felix, the prior agenda item, the dates for third community meeting, I think kind of in line with what we're talking about now, were we going to talk about the structure of the next meeting to make sure that the committee members are taking
Yes, that was
control over the.
That's what we'll talk about in the next agenda item when we talk about the next
Okay.
meeting. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So Sharon, then Felix, or Felix, then Sharon. Right.
I was just going to say, Kathy, I've spoken twice already in opposition to you, so I'm going to take a softer approach now. Kathy and I are on the library commission for the city together, and I think I know exactly where Kathy is coming from because she wants to do a good job. But I think, Kathy, if you think about the big picture, the reality is, number one, that we don't have a lot of options. We're not going to decide the future use of the site. This is merely a decision whether it's surplus or not. And given the restrictions that we have due to the risk assessment, I'm not really sure that we have a great deal of leeway. And with respect to timing, meaning our workload versus the February 24, if that's the date, 24 board meeting, I think that if you realistically look at the input we've received at the past 2 public board meetings, unless there is a storm of people coming to the 3rd board meeting and keeping us so busy, there'll be another 3, 4, 5 comments. And I think that they'll be relatively easy to integrate. And if it really is too much, I'm sure that Kelly would then agree maybe to postpone our board presentation or take whatever other measure is necessary that the committee can do its work. But I just want to say that maybe I can convince you that overall, I think we can probably do it.
Thank you, Felix. Sharon?
I think my question probably has to do with whether or not we're going to continue to meet on January 21st, which I think is a good idea to see, just like a check-in to see what progress we have made and how much further we need to go to put the report together. And the 4th would, no, the 21st.
That would be
28th. Yeah, and if we wanted to meet on the 28th again, just to check in, that would be 2 weeks in a row. And so perhaps that will give everybody a little bit more sense of calm about seeing the progress that's being made and how much we might have left to do after the 4th. That was all I was going to ask.
I think that is something you guys need to decide. And, myself and Karina, we have no input in that decision. So that's something you all have to decide amongst yourselves to do. We, of course, will be available if that's something you choose to do. Therese?
I think it's probably a good idea that we do meet on the 28th, just to ease the process of everybody taking a look at the document and providing their comments and edits.
Well, the show of hands, can you guys show which that's something you want to do? Okay, I'll go ahead and schedule a meeting for, do you want the 21st and the 28th or just the 28th?
I think 21st and 28th is what
Okay, 21st and 28th. Okay. And same time, the 4 to 5 time?
Yes.
Okay. And this will be to work on the draft. Initial draft. comments and format of the report. Okay.
And can we get the link on the agenda? Because that's the one that I used tonight and it was very confusing because it wasn't the right one.
I apologize for that because I realized at the last minute I looked at it, I said, wait a minute, this isn't the one that's in my calendar. So that's why I sent the revised one out to you guys right away after I saw that.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, referring back to our current agenda. The other thing that I'd like to also discuss is you all have to choose members who want to present this at the board meeting, and who might feel comfortable in doing that alongside me. Because I have to, of course, submit the item, but they're expecting a member of the committee to participate in the presentation of the information. So amongst yourselves, who feels the most comfortable in doing that?
Well, I know how this is going to go. So
I was just
No,
going to suggest that possibly Jeff might be willing.
I knew how this was going to go.
Yeah,
so
you did
as long
know.
as I'm not drafting it, I don't have the bandwidth to do that part. I'm comfortable with sitting with Kelly on our little Brady Bunch screen and helping present it.
Okay.
No, I definitely am the one who has to input it into the board docs and the agenda and all that stuff. So between myself and Sharon and my other staff folks, we have to carry that heavy load.
Yes. There's a lot of experience in this group. I know that.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I can say that you all have chosen Jeff to be the presenter.
Yeah.
Show of hands, thumbs up. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay. Next
Nice
on
to
our
have my name
agenda.
go before the board and not be a negative thing. So I'm okay with
No,
that.
it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be awesome because we're going to talk it up and make it be a positive thing. So one of the things, like Karina had said, is we set the date for the draft report and the presentation. One of the things that we should also talk about is the next meeting and the structure of that meeting and how we want that to flow. So this next meeting, we are not going to have the superintendent nor the associate superintendent in attendance because they have scheduling conflicts. So as part of that same sort of positioning that, you know, we want to have, we'd like for you all to kind of take the lead on the meeting and actually do similar to what we did before, where the meeting is started, but since we don't have our, you know, superintendent and associate soup available, we then can, you know, just do some very short introductions and go directly into the presentation of the information. And we would need to have, you know, one of the committee members be a moderator as well as opening and closing the forum, similar to what Jeff did the last time. But because I have to be a presenter, I also can't be a moderator. So we need another person to volunteer to do that as well. And so that way you guys have kind of total control over the meeting. And we then hopefully will provide a sense of ease or not so formal for the community to feel that they can actually, you know, talk to you all and express their opinions and not feel that they'll be judged because, like, the superintendent's not going to be there and the associate soup is not going to be there.
Does the moderator look into who is on the chat and asking questions and bringing that to your attention? I'm just going by what Jeff sort of did in the last meeting.
Yes. Yes. They're kind of that person because a lot of times when somebody's speaking or they're trying to, engage with the audience, they can't always see like whose hand is up or who's trying to, speak and manage and track that kind of stuff. So
I think it depends on
that's
your
what we're
comfort
hoping to-
level.
Pardon me?
I think it depends on the comfort level. I have no problem when I'm moderating and running the chat room and stuff.
Okay.
That's what I used to do. And so I think last time I actually took over for Sharon a couple
Okay.
times because I saw stuff.
Okay.
Sharon, you had your hand up first though.
Yes, Sharon.
No, it's just, it's a Zoom webinar which is the training that Jeff and I got, and so did you, Kelly. So I don't mind doing letting the folks in to speak and going to I don't have a problem doing that since I know how to do it. I
Okay.
think, I checked with Patty and she said I didn't mess it up. So
That's wonderful. Well, I think everybody did a great job the last time. Everybody did. Karina, do you have any comments or input that you wanted to share with regard to how we should look at the meeting the next time?
So I think not really, but I just want to make sure that and maybe this was the perspective, maybe this was what it appeared at the last meeting, but I just want to make sure that, the committee and the community knows that this meeting is a 7-Eleven committee meeting and not a Fremont Unified School District meeting. And so that I think the more that it is led by committee members, and to the extent there are legal questions or facilities questions, forum for you to take the input, and maybe separately we can all discuss and figure out the best response. But in that moment, just making sure the community is there in front of you and you're taking that feedback and trying to be present. And so that I think that will make it a more smoother, maybe making the community feel more comfortable in, providing their input. And maybe this was something you and I discussed, Kelly. I don't know if maybe changing the format of the slides, and so that to the extent you can provide the facilities information as the director of facilities for the district, but for the community members, if the committee wants to provide what they have looked at or what the things that they have evaluated or some things that they want to tell the community themselves, feel free also to provide your own slides and presentation to the community. So more active that way.
Okay.
But that's all I'll say.
Yeah. Okay. Jeff, you had your hand up?
I think one of the things that I thought about too is I don't know if it was, and it would be good for those of us, all of us that are on the panel, is that we're making it very clear of what the purpose of the meeting is in writing, like on a slide. That way it's really clear up front that they are getting a chance to express an opinion or ask questions, but that we're not there to answer, because I know I got caught up in it. I mean, they ask a question, I want to answer the question as best I can, and then I'm trying to look at Karina's face in the, to see if she's giving me that guy. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to answer too much. But I think to have that very clearly laid out, and then it's something that whoever's moderating, can review it again before we open the panel, so that everybody knows this is what that time is for.
yeah, I agree.
That one lady, her comment was dead on. I think we've all felt it. Like, well,
Yeah.
if we don't have privy to everything, then how can we give proper
Right.
feedback? And I think that if we can just be very clear and explicit, it will help to make it a smoother conversation.
I think also including on the slide that the link that they can go to, that all of these questions and comments will be documented, and
Mm.
post it here so that you can go, we're not answering them here, but this is where you can go and find it either tomorrow or in 2 days or whatever the case may be.
Right. And Kelly, I will say this, in that meeting, while they were talking, I was frantically going to FUSD's website for the 7-Eleven committee, and there was
Yeah.
no
Mhm.
documentation there other than our meeting minutes. And
Oh,
so I
Wow.
think that that's really important if we're going to have this community forum, to be able to sit there and say up front, all of the material that is for public viewing is on this website.
Right.
So if you
And-
need to dig deeper,
yeah.
you can go there.
There was a link on the front page, and perhaps after the January 7th, no, it should have still been there.
But there's nothing on the website. It's
Okay.
described the 7-Eleven committee.
Okay.
It has the meetings. But if we're talking about the Marshall site and there's specific public information that is supposed to be there about Marshall,
Okay.
it should
so
be
I guess,
available.
Karina, my question then would be, what can we put on the website that is not privileged? We can put the map, we can put the location, we can put the history of the school, and the public notice that was sent to the parents in the SIP and the SIP program that talked about why they were no longer allowed to use the Marshall site.
So that sounds like
And I believe there's another document that we could probably load, but I just want to make sure that we're very clear on what we are allowed to post in a public place versus what we're not allowed to.
So Karina, I know that there are, or you shared with us, there's a laundry list of the organizations or places that can come in and say they might want it, the city for a park or the city for
Mhm.
whatever. If that list were included in a slide or on the website, I think it might help people understand what the uses are that are appropriate for that property, that it could be any one of those things. We don't make that. We just decide,
Is it surplus or not?
is it surplus or not? But we don't determine, well, yeah, it's surplus, but we only want A, B, and C. Or do we say that? I get lost in. The community wants information. If we can give them that laundry list, that at least informs them of the types of organizations and or we'll lease it, we'll sell it, we'll do whatever, but those are options that the board will determine once we decide whether it's surplus or not, correct? Okay. So I think giving them that information, which I don't think they had based on the questions that were asked the last time. They don't understand it. It's a lot to understand.
So Kelly,
Uh-huh.
I was gonna say that I think the documents that you have already shared with the 7-Eleven committee, they have gone through council to make sure that they're not privileged because, obviously the 7-Eleven committee is a public subcommittee. So I think those are all fine. And then Sharon, to answer your question, what I think those kind of right now, the way they're set up right now, they're attorney-client work product. But what I can give the committee is, and I know Liz has seen it too, but the statutes, and maybe from the statutes, you all can pull that information and put it in your presentation or however you want to present it to the community.
That's perfect for what I was asking. Yes, that's great.
Great. Okay.
Okay, so I kind of thinking that I'm hearing stuff. We have a group of people right now that are gonna draft or work on the draft. Correct? Have we decided who that's gonna be? Liz and Sharon?
I thought everybody was going to input anything that they, after looking into it, that they thought they knew that they could add.
Okay.
Right.
I'm gonna present at the board meeting. I think the thing that I still haven't heard us confirm is is it Sharon's going to handle the tech? Does anybody else want to moderate the next community meeting, or do you just want me to do it because I was trained as well? I mean, I'm happy to let somebody else step into the role. Okay. So Kelly, I'll moderate again. That's fine.
Okay.
And then it sounds like the one open question then is, have we confirmed what our next meeting is going to look like next week?
And I'm leaving that up to you guys because my understanding is you all were going to use this time to kind of brainstorm and work on the draft of the document and, fill in the blanks, so to speak, and then work on it together. Yes, Liz.
Well, and as Sharon and Therese indicated, having these additional meetings is really in order to be able to kind of review the draft amongst ourselves in this forum. And, presuming, of course, we're going to be working on it right away, and it will be more than what it is right now. I just think it's a good opportunity, especially since this is a public forum, in case we have attendees that feel that they need more information in this report, or who knows, I think why we're having these meetings is so that we can make sure this report is as good as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you guys go to the, the shared drive folder, in the meeting agenda and minutes, the Marshall Site community questions from the forum are there. And you guys can fully look at that document and edit it and add or subtract or whatever to it. But we had started to, just log in those questions there. And there's room to leave answers. So if you all are so compelled to answer those or provide, feedback, we can then take that document and formalize it and post it on our website, the 7-Eleven committee website. And that way the community members can see that those questions were addressed and answered, and they're posted in a public place too.
Kelly, can you please send out the link to that shared folder once again?
Sure.
Thank
sure.
you to everybody.
I will post
And
that.
as well, who's taking responsibility for sending out the links for the next meetings? And one thing only, please, because it got confusing this time. So who's setting up those meetings? Jeff, you are?
I will send you guys a link with an invite to next week's meeting.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm anal.
No worries.
I
I'd
admit it.
rather be anal than absent-minded. Oh, and the other thing that's also is that I put if you look under community engagement, there's the letter that was sent out in 2019 to the parents that had children attending the SIP program. And in that letter, there's very specific information as to why the site cannot be used. And that is something that you all are free to communicate out and utilize that information to possibly answer questions or share out to the community. Yes, Liz.
I thought that's where you were going to have the questions, but I'm not seeing that document. Can you direct?
The questions are actually in the meeting minutes in the agenda. So I'll move it to the community engagement folder because that makes more sense for it to be there rather than in the meeting minutes side of things.
It'd be nice if it ended up in kind of an FAQ format.
The way that it's set up right now, it is. So let me share that with you guys so you can just take a look at it before we all sign off so that everybody can kind of know what we're looking at. Let's see.
And while she's doing that, I did send an invite to everybody. I even sent it to Karina and Kelly, whether or not you need to be there. But Kathleen, in the invite, I also put the link to the Google Drive folder.
That's interesting why it's not doing that. One second, guys. I apologize that it's taking me so long to open this folder. It doesn't want to cooperate with me. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. Make a copy. And yes, I am. I'll be finished shortly. So, I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to go ahead and share this with you guys and figure this out in a few minutes. So let me go here. I'm going to present my screen. Let's go here, share. And so here is, can everyone see the questions? So here is the questions, and I'm going to change this to put December 15th first and then January 7th. But it's, frequently asked questions that were raised at both forums, and then it goes right into the 9 questions that I documented. And if there's something that I misinterpreted or you guys feel that I missed, please feel free to add to this document. But question 1 is, where are the suggestions for the site, and how do we access that information from the school district? Question 2, why can't the building be used for another school site? Question 3, has the sentiment of the Board of Trustees changed based on the new board members being appointed? Question 4, what was the overall risk for using the site? Question 5, how will answers be given back to the community on the questions raised? Number 6, can the district still keep the site and use it for storage for maintenance and operations, materials, and supplies? Question 7, can we lease the building to a community organization? Question 8, when will this be brought to the Board of Trustees for decision? And question 9, can we not sell the property but possibly trade with the city of Fremont for something else? So, and as I said, if you guys think that there's something that I've missed or there's more questions you think we should have there that are not identified, please feel free to add that. So I'm going to put this in the community engagement folder to go along with the letter that is here under community engagement. Doesn't that want to open? Can you guys see my screen still?
No.
Okay, let me go back. Present entire screen. Here we go, share. And can you all see this letter now?
Yes.
Okay, and this is the letter that was sent out May 23rd, 2019 to the Spanish dual immersion families. And it outlines the reason why the school district is not going to be using the school site. So, and it was signed by Superintendent Wallace at the time. And this was sent out via, I believe, email and then hard copy to the affected families that were in the program at that time. So, Sharon has raised her hand. Yes, Sharon.
Thinking back now that I'm looking at the questions, one of the participants on the 7th, I believe, was pretty, I don't know the word. Anyway, she wanted to know where she could look at those reports, the one from the CDE and the one from PG&E or whatever it was that was referenced. And I have a feeling that question will come up again. We're not going to answer it, but is that something they can be pointed to? I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Do you remember specifically what report she asked for?
Yeah, I was just looking at, well, in the letter, it refers to, sorry, Kelly, the one that went to the SCI community. I think it refers to a report or in discussion with the CDE or report and with PG&E. She was asking how she could go and read those reports to try and understand what the risk assessment is for that piece of property. I don't know if anybody else remembers that.
I do remember, but I thought that we had told her that the report was like privileged or something.
Is it? I mean, I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, no, it is.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It
so
is
Liz-
privileged.
Yeah,
Okay.
Liz and then Felix.
Me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I remember, and this was before you came on, Kelly, but Swastik was saying, when a site starts going through the process through the OPSC and that they have to look and see if a site meets the current standard for being a school site. And the standards for schools can be somewhat high. I mean, we have schools that, like Parkmont, for instance, that's right next to the BART tracks, that would not go over nowadays. You wouldn't be able to build a school near train tracks like that. Now, obviously, when there's interactions between the district and the state, those are internal documents, correct? I mean, they don't typically make it to the forms, right?
I believe if someone was to pull a Public Records Act, anything that we have filed with like the Division of State Architect or OPSC, those are all public documents.
Right.
But in terms of this report and the risk analysis that was done, that was actually handled by our legal counsel, and it maintains privilege status
Privilege.
because
Okay.
it's not part of any public documents that were submitted for like execution or interaction with some of the stuff that the school. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Karina, but when that happens, that is sort of the veil of client and we
Attorney
maintain client privilege over that information because it's not done in the public forum, so it no longer has the opportunity or ability to be bound by the Public Information Act because
Okay.
it's not a public document.
Okay.
And so anything that we generate from that then speaks to that document, it changes the nature of how that document can be used. And I don't believe that the district has done that with this particular set of information yet.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to see if there's any reference point that would be in the public domain between agencies, that may not have been the risk assessment in terms of, legal counsel, but simply a statement of this site is inadequate because, it kind of, when it comes from that arena, I believe it becomes non-negotiable, correct? I mean, it's if it's not going to pass muster with the state for what
Right.
then
I think the most that we have is maybe something in terms of the new requirements from CDE. And I know that I did see a document that just referenced the CDE requirements for school sites, but it wasn't in regard to particularly this site, but just as we're looking at new school sites, we have like a checklist from CDE that we have to adhere to that has certain stipulations of, hey, you can't be within, 100 yards of a waterway, or you can't be within 50 feet of a, high rapid rail, transit kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff is kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we as a district have formulated any opinion or stated that, hey, we're following these guidelines and this is what our decision is based on, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but I know that checklist is out there.
And I would think that you have obligations to meet that checklist, those standards, correct? I mean, it's not
Correct.
up for debate, right? So.
Correct. But I don't think that was applied in this particular instance. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Karina, but I don't believe that we used any of those statutes in the decision-making process for Marshall. Yes, Felix.
Maybe I misunderstood my appointment to this commission, but I never perceived my role as second guessing prior board action. So I never felt that it was my role to become an expert on PG&E easements and to determine whether this was presented a hazard of any kind. I think that given the constraints that we have, the question is whether the site is usable for the district in a capacity other than for, my understanding, in instructional use. And the maintenance department last week, or anyway, the last meeting, two gentlemen spoke at length. And I think that should probably be taken a look at. And I think to me, that's an internal matter for the district. But I realistically don't see a great, well, I certainly am not ready to answer any questions with respect to the easement. Let's put it that way.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like we're pretty clear on what our next steps are. And I appreciate you guys attending the last two community meetings. And I look forward to us getting more information and providing more input to our community at large. So, and as I said, if there's anything that you guys want to input or add or change, please feel free to do it to any of the documents that are in that folder. I'll work with Bart and Brian Kilgore to load that public information on the website with the history of Marshall site so that people can have access to that. And if there's any questions or any queries that you have with regard to the information that we've provided you, please reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to get you whatever additional information I'm able to. So, but thank you guys so much for your time today. And I'm sorry we've gone over a little bit, but I think it was a really good meeting. And I think we're moving along really well. I know it's frustrating, but I think we've accomplished a lot in a very short period of time. So.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, I will see you guys next week, and I'll do my best to try and get these minutes out a little bit sooner than the day of. But
Thank
we'll
you.
get together before the end. So.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Next week.